Hi, everybody, and welcome back to What in the World is Dyscalculia, the podcast that is all about the math-related specific learning disorder. I'm Dr. Honora Wall, your host for the podcast, which is presented by EduCalc Learning. And we encourage you to also visit the Dyscalculia Training and Research Institute, which is a 501c3 dedicated to raising awareness and changing the lived experience of people with dyscalculia. And to that end, we have a special guest with us today who is also working very hard to raise awareness and change the lived experience of students who have the math disability. So our guest is teacher and author, Dawn Pagliaro Newman. And Dawn, thank you for being with us. And you recently completed and published, congratulations, a book. So can you tell us the name of the book, what it's about, and where people can find it?
Thank you so much, Nora. It's Dyscalculia Demystified, Practical Tools for the General Education Classroom. It can be found anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere where you can find a book, it'll be there.
That's excellent. And I will say, I make a plug for, I always love finding little local bookstores. So go into any bookstore and just ask, say, hey, do you have this title or can you get it for me? And bookstores can go on their computer, easily put in the order and get it for you if they don't have it on the shelf. But the more people ask, the more they'll start to carry books
Right.
on the shelf, which I think is important because
Yeah.
everybody's got books on dyslexia and ADHD. Let's stack those shelves with dyscalculia as well.
Right. And if you want some special treatment, go to Lofty Pigeon in Brooklyn, New York, if you're in the neighborhood.
Yes, that is where you did your book launch, if I'm correct. So
Yes.
I want to talk about the book launch and that experience for you as an author. But I also want to know first, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get to the point where you thought, I need to say this, and I think I have enough to say that it should go in a book?
I've been teaching for 25 years now, and I've always considered myself a really good math teacher. I teach elementary. I've taught pre-K through 5, and it was just a passion of mine to teach math. But it wasn't until my daughter started school and was diagnosed with dyscalculia that I said, wait a minute, what is this? I'd never heard of it before. And I
Right.
have a master's degree in special ed, so I was a lot of things. I was shocked, I was angry, I
Yep.
got sad, and as any parent advocating for their child, you fall down the rabbit hole. I
Yes.
read everything I could get my hands on, and it really started, it lit a fire, and that's where it started for me. And not only did I realize, you know, so much about my daughter's learning experience. I started thinking back to all the students that I've had and
Yes.
just didn't see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've done that same thing too, and it's I'm sure you've experienced this. It's that tug between, man, if I could go back and find that person, now I know, and these are the things I would have done differently. And we can't go back, and we don't know what we don't know. For
Right.
people who have never heard about this, you don't know that you don't know that you don't know. So it really is this very hidden thing still. Um, and that sits with you, the people that you can see in hindsight and go, yeah, I'll bet that's what was going on.
Yeah. But I think teachers in the classroom, they see this,
Hmm.
and they're, even if you don't know that dyscalculia is a thing, it's when you're teaching, especially in elementary, we have the
Yeah.
luxury of seeing children across content areas. And so you typically, the kids that are sitting in your reading groups for reading help, a lot of the time, a good percentage of them are the same kids that are there for math. So there is this crossover that we're seeing, and the research is coming out that dyscalculia is just as prevalent, as dyslexia.
Right. And we're starting to see that with dysgraphia, but that's I think getting a little more attention because it gets tied to dyslexia so much, although they are completely different disorders, but dyscalculia can still be the the redheaded stepchild of SLDs. But you're right. In elementary, that is a great gift. You can see students all day in all different settings. So you really know their ability level and their intelligence level. And that
Right.
can really show, like, why is this such a disconnect in math? I know they should be doing better, and I know they're working hard. So what's going on? Well, did any of that make it into your book? Tell us about what's inside your book.
Yes, and it's being able to see children throughout the day or for a whole school year. We're as teachers really good at noticing patterns, and that's
Yeah.
what helps us help our kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so what the book is about is all of the tools that have helped me uh, work with children with learning differences or even who struggle in math, because not
Yeah,
every child who struggles in math has a learning disorder.
very true.
Um, so really to what I call creating a learning profile, um, where we're figuring out not only what we need to help the student with, but also what are the strengths that they bring.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's not really talked about a lot. And as teachers, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with all of the negative, like, oh goodness, the curriculum marches on, but
Yeah.
yet our children aren't making the progress. And so we have this idea of falling behind. And um, I found that changing my mindset to really being just as mindful of the student's strengths,
Mm-hmm.
um, that really makes a difference, especially in making a student feel like they belong. Because if they don't
Yes.
feel like they belong and they don't feel like you see and value them as a person, then not much is going not the progress is not going to be made.
Absolutely. That's very true. And I think that, we talk a lot. You and I go do a lot of the same conferences and we're in the same educational space. So we hear there's a lot of talk about supporting all students and math for all students. And then you have to say, but does all include the students with slower processing speed? Does it include the students who have some executive function issues? Does it include students who need to hear it or see it or do it differently and be assessed differently? Like in our education space, what do we mean by all? And do the students know that we mean that all? Do they really feel
Mm.
included and accepted? Well,
Yeah.
that
And
makes me think about your daughter too. Do you mind talking a little bit about her journey as a student? Um, and how has that gone for her in her schooling?
it's been a long road, and I think um, some of the best support I've gotten through, and my husband and I have gotten through this journey, is from other parents who are in the trenches, so to speak, and who know what it's like to have to advocate for a child who doesn't fit within those
Yeah.
parameters of
Yeah.
she started school and um the funny thing is being a teacher, you kind of know the phrases
Yeah.
that teachers use. So I'll never forget her pre-K teacher came up to me and said, Olivia is so independent. And I said, yeah, you might want to close the door because she will run out into the hallway. And that was the thing. She was running out into the hallway. She was doing her own thing. Anytime it was time to sit down and learn, she'd rather, go and play with the dolls or build with the blocks and
Right.
arts and crafts, anything hands-on. And then by kindergarten, unfortunately, and teachers have been saying this for quite a while, the push in kindergarten is more and more academic when
Right.
we know developmentally children should still be playing and being social in
That's
kindergarten.
where they get their academics.
Yeah, exactly. And she really, really pushed back. Her behavior was unlike anything we knew. We knew that her behavior was trying to tell us something that she just didn't have the language for. So we
Yeah.
got her a private neuropsych. We got her an IEP. We started doing all of the steps, and that helped us put the pieces together a little bit and
Hmm.
get an idea of what was happening. So among dyscalculia, things like ADHD and dyslexia,
Hmm.
dysgraphia. So there was a lot going on, but yet, like we mentioned before, very high IQ,
Yep.
so there was a lot going on. And so having that neuropsych and kind of creating a team around her was super helpful. Um, Eventually it became, no matter how we adapted her supports in public school, it wasn't enough.
Hmm.
She needed a smaller, more specialized setting, and now she has been for a few years now attending Summit School in Queens, New York, and the work they do there has been incredible and absolutely instrumental, and she's really become a leader, the leader we know that she could
Yeah.
be. um so yeah, my advice to parents is just keep pushing.
Hmm.
Find your
Yes.
tribe, as they say.
Yes. Yes. Don't give up. The journey is not over until you've won, until you've found the support that you need. I think that's very true.
Mhm.
Getting back to the book, I do want to know a little like on that journey of writing, were there some researchers that you thought, oh, yes, this is landing for me. I want to include this. And were those things that you also were able to try out in your classroom? Like, talk to us about that piece.
There were a few works and researchers that once I read, I said, yes, this makes sense for what I'm doing in my classroom. Because there are certain things that are in our control,
Yeah.
certain things that aren't. I can't
Yeah,
change the district mandates.
that's right.
I can't change who comes in and out of my classroom. So
Mm-hmm.
to the
Mm-hmm.
point you were making before of who do we support? I support whoever walks in that room. That's
Right.
it. And I have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I would choose who gets to come and go, but um I read your book, it was really instrumental in helping me understand what dyscalculia is. There's a book called Adding It Up that came out more than 20 years ago, but they have what's called the strands of mathematical proficiency,
Mm-hmm.
which really helped me understand what the strengths are. And that is for all learners. And the idea is there are certain aspects to math learning that
Mm-hmm.
when they all work together, they they're characteristics of a proficient math student.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter which student I was thinking of, there was some part of that rope or that proficiency that, oh yeah, that kid really does that well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to start to see it. And so there's a checklist I developed because I love me a good checklist. I love me a good graphic organizer.
We're
That's how
math
my brain,
people. We
yeah,
love data. Yep.
how my brain works. And so I started looking at my kids, especially the ones that are really the puzzles. You always have a
Mm-hmm.
couple in your class where you're like, I wish I could figure this kid out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the checklists based on the mathematical proficiencies to help me determine where's my starting point with this kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what can I start with? Am I going to start with, drawing the pictures or building it with blocks, or, just chatting and talking about the reasoning of it? Um, and then I came across, as you and many, many people know, there are no agreed upon types of dyscalculia yet in the field
Mm-hmm.
of
Right.
research, but there's one researcher whose work and colleagues, Yanis Karagianis, I saying his name wrong, but he um, has four types that he came up with maybe 10 years ago, or that he saw in his work. And those subtypes, reasoning, um, my goodness, now that I'm thinking of it, it's slipping my head. So
If
they're
people want specifics, they can grab your
they
book.
can go in the book. Go in the
It's
book.
all in the book. We can't give away too much, just that
No,
little spoiler for you.
thank you.
Go read the book and then you'll
Thank you
know.
for saving me. I swear I know what I'm talking about.
You speak at a lot of conferences, Don, and so a quick plug for that that people should look for. I know that you're doing something in Texas coming up soon. You're doing something in New York coming up soon in the fall. And I do like to encourage educators and parents get to these conferences,
Right,
go see who's talking and what they're saying, and that's another easy way to plug in and
right.
also not feel so alone. Um,
Yes. And
uh,
if you're an educator, and
yeah.
especially in New York, there's Math for America, which has some of the best math and science teachers giving workshops and professionals. Some are open to the public, some are part of the fellowship. And so
Mhm.
take a look at that as well, because parents need community, but also teachers do too.
Absolutely. Yes. We both know that as teachers, you can end up in a silo of your own room and a silo
Right.
of your own school. And it's so refreshing to go to local, regional, state, national events and say, oh, you get it. You know what
Mm.
I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about. This sounds so refreshing and engaging. I think there's a
Yeah, and
lot
I
there.
I think one thing that really, especially the LDA conferences,
Yeah.
everyone is so ready to talk with one another, no matter what the titles are. I think the first time I went, I was really like, oh goodness, I'm going to be with like real big professionals and experts in the field, but everyone was so easy to chat with and just all together on the same team. And
Yeah.
there's really nothing like it.
Yeah, and the next one, a little plug for that, is in February in Las Vegas.
Mm,
So definitely meet me in Las Vegas. I hope you will be there
I'll be
because we had a
there.
good time in previous conferences hanging out. So that's a fun one. Getting back to the book, I want to talk a little bit about that author experience when you got the book out there. You did a book launch. So tell us about that and how that went.
Oh, the book launch was wonderful. It was, like I said, at Lofty Pigeon in Brooklyn, New York. But what's great about it is the school where I work is very close to there and has um a great relationship. So it really was a community coming together. There were teachers, there were administrators, there were parents, there were
Mhm.
students, some of which were wrestling with my daughter in the corner, which was hysterical. You could see in all the pictures, they're kind of in the background if I haven't cropped them out. Um,
Mhm.
but it was just the question. And as an author, to be able to it not only can teaching, like you said, be very isolating because you're in your room,
Yeah.
writing is too, because you're behind your computer.
Hmm.
And so it was so nice to be in a room to talk all together. But then
Hmm.
also during the Q&A, what I found fascinating was I was expecting like the teachers and the parents to be asking questions. But what ended up happening was the students and the children started raising their hand, and all of their questions started with, my teacher does this thing. I don't find it helpful. Why?
Hmm.
Why does my teacher do this? Like,
Hmm.
um, two things that stood out was when I ask my teacher, what does this mean? What is this question? Why does she just read it again to me? I told you I didn't understand it. I heard you the
Right.
first time. Or another student said, I really love drawing pictures and graphs. Why does my teacher tell me to write it in number sentences? Like,
Hmm.
that doesn't work for me. So I think it was so fascinating that I was expecting all the adults to be having this conversation, and it's almost as if the students were saying, wait, we're here too. We're the ones
Right.
you're talking about. And so keeping in mind that a child lives at this intersection. And we
Mm-hmm.
all need to come to the table, whether it be parents, teachers, doctors giving diagnoses,
Yeah.
administrators giving, mandates from the district. It's the child that lives in the center of it. And the
Mm-hmm.
more we come together and have this conversation, the greater strides we can make.
Mm-hmm. I think those are excellent points. You got me thinking about a lot of things with that answer. And one that's standing out right now for me very much is that is an important thing for parents and especially educators to know when you're working with neurodivergent students, they have questions. They see it
Yeah.
differently and they need to hear it differently. And I think especially for math, I think a lot of teachers go into math education because they always got it. It
Mm.
always made sense to them. So it was pretty easy. So this was a skill set and they want to pass that along. But that means they haven't always had to think about it differently. And neurodivergent students will push you right out of your box and make you think
Without a
outside the.
doubt. Yeah. But even more to that, math teachers in teachers teaching math in secondary education and middle school and high school are very different than elementary. You can go into
Yes.
elementary education and there are many teachers I know who love reading and writing. They love the literacy,
Yes.
but they have their own trauma and learning issues around
Absolutely.
math.
Hmm.
And there's this um social acceptance that it's okay, like, oh, I'm not a math person
Yeah.
either. Like, that is just not acceptable with reading, to say, oh, I don't do reading.
Right.
It's met with this pity of, oh my goodness, that's horrible. But then you say, oh, I don't do math, and everybody's like, oh, me too, me too, I can't do
Right.
math either. So um there's also the issue of, t like teacher training as well. Like,
Yes.
there's, I remember when I went to some great universities, there was
Hmm.
one class on math,
Right.
math teaching. It's just not enough.
Exactly. Yes, that's a very excellent point. We'll have to have you back on for that conversation because we could talk
Yeah.
about higher ed all day.
Right. And so
All
that
day.
was part of the book too, is I'm a teacher. What do I
Hmm.
do with my kids tomorrow? So all of the
Yes.
tools and the resources are meant to be easy reading, but also filled with what works. It's not an add-on because we've already got enough on our plate. It's how do
Yep.
we, no matter what your age level that you're teaching, no matter what your curriculum, what are the tools that you could be using to help all students who struggle in math.
Absolutely. And I did like that about your book with the practical piece. There are checklists in the back, and there are things you can do. You can just take this book, you can read it, and you can say, okay, I feel like I know where to start, and I can track some data, and I don't have to create that. I can photocopy what's right here for the 25 or 30 kids in the room,
Mhm.
however many you have. At secondary, you've got even more, but you have that as a something to get you started. So it really helps teachers like get started. Just jump in the pool with us
Right.
and here's how you jump in.
And another thing I found felt really important too was the parent piece, the parent outreach
Yes.
piece. And there's a lot of books that talk about ways to engage families, that are like family math nights and newsletters, which is great. But what I was needing as someone who stands, as a teacher and a parent, was I needed something meatier, something more, for families of children who struggle year after year. A
Hmm.
newsletter is just not going to cut it.
Yep.
We need to have deeper conversations. And so, with authors like Rachel Lambert and Paolo Tan, who talk a lot about equity, and
Hmm.
with my own experiences, when you sit as a teacher, you sit down with a family to talk about learning difficulties and learning differences. What I didn't realize until I was on the other side of that table was that you're also sitting with generations of that family's struggles with learning.
Yes.
And so it's this there's decisions that parent me has made that would horrify teacher me. And we did it because we can either get the homework done or we can
That's
be a
right.
happy family, and
That's
we
right.
can't do both. And
That's
that's
right.
got to be okay.
Yeah.
And to have that compassion and understanding that the right decision for each family is going to look different.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep. For me, I think people always need to prioritize being a happy family.
right.
You can catch up with the homework sometime,
Yeah.
but you cannot catch being happy as a family later on. You should always prioritize that. I know you and I feel the same way about that. But I'm
Yeah.
also hearing a lot of other ideas. Do you have any plans to write another book after this one?
Yes, that's in the long term because right now I have so many questions just talking
Yes.
about, and I think that that really that wake up call at the book event where the children really started saying, "Hey, what's going on here? Why am I?" I think that was something so strong. So I think research has developed a lot, and which is exciting, but also I'm hearing more from other teachers and from children themselves saying, hey, we have something to say about this too. And so another book is coming. Not sure when, but
It is
it's
a big
exciting.
undertaking.
It
It is
is. It's
exciting.
so huge. Yeah.
Hmm. So, again, let's recap. How can people find your book and find more about you? Do you have a website that you'd like to share, or do you want people to, how can they find you at different conferences, and how can they get more information?
My website is dawnpagliaronewman.com. If you see me at a conference, I'm probably the one with the longest name there. So that's a good bet. It has a hyphen in it. I am, and you can find Dyscalculia Demystified on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold.
Hmm. Hmm. And hopefully at those conferences, people can
Right,
grab one from you too.
right. LDA Texas in October and more coming soon. I have a newsletter that you can sign up for on my website that'll keep you updated.
That's fantastic too. All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us and for talking about this today, and for really helping to lead this charge.
Thank you
That,
so much.
yeah, people need to know about this, and you've done a great thing with this book to make it easy to get this information. Teachers or parents or students with dyscalculia, you don't have to keep being mystified by the experience. You can get this knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, Don. We will talk again soon.